p.m. I'm going to call the council to order. Please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Councilman Smith is going to have our prayer.
Dear Heavenly Father, for another time we get to want to thank you for allowing us to be here, God. We thank you for the beautiful weather, God. We just ask that you would guide our footsteps and our miles today, God, as we try to come together and talk about the budget and see what we can do for the best for our citizens. We ask that you would be with us, that you would give us the wisdom and the discernment to make good decisions for our city. We ask all these in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Y'all may be seated. Thank you all for coming. This is a special budget workshop agenda meeting. This is July 10, 2025. We have a quorum of members present. We have a couple that may be late because of traffic, but we're going to go ahead and start the meeting tonight. Okay, item number 2, mayor announcements. I do not have any announcements tonight. I stated my announcements on Tuesday, so we now can move on to item number 3, public comments. I have 3 yellow cards. I'm going to pull the first one. Joanne, if you don't mind stepping forward, if you'll come to the podium, just state your name and address for the record. Tell everybody who you are.
Joanne Lunyon. My address is 3418 FM 2280 in Cleburne.
All right. Joanne would like to talk to us about a painting that she has here that you guys all have in front of you, this paper, if you'll pick it up. So Joanne, if you'll explain what this is and what you'd like to do.
All right. Just to kind of let you know, I retired about 4 years ago, and I got bored and decided to pick up a hobby, and I didn't know I could paint. This is my very first painting that I did. The original is very large. I've had 3 prints made, and I've sold 2 of them. This print is 24 by 36, and it's been in 3 art galleries. And I was trying to sell it for $500, and it never has sold. And I went and picked it up Tuesday, and then I got to thinking about it, that I would like to donate this and have $10 raffle tickets, and the 100% proceeds go to the flood victims in Kerrville. And so I went to the bank first, and they legally told me that they couldn't participate in a raffle, and then I found out that the city can't do the raffle. But if I could display it, maybe here in your lobby, and then put under there where you could get your raffle tickets, maybe some of the businesses in Keene would take that on. I don't know if they would do that or not. And the bank said I could set up a benefit account and put all the money to there, and then they would make sure that the flood victims, whoever to send it to in Kerrville.
Okay.
So if anybody has any ideas or can help me with this project, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Joanne, very much. And yeah, we'll look into that. Mr. Seitz, you can look into that and see how we can do this. Yeah, I understand we can't like take in the money as a raffle as a city, but maybe we can figure out some organization that can handle that part of it for us. Maybe people can come and like scan something and do their donation through Zelle or something where we could still display it here in the lobby. We'll look into it, Joanne. Thank you.
Okay.
And we'll get in touch with you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Very good cause. All right, Ms. Gillen, would you like to speak?
Yes, since Samantha Gillen, 218 West 4th Street, Keene, Texas. I just wanted to make the council aware that ever since I've been president of the Type A board, we've been trying to get the industrial park, more businesses in there and everything, and we lacked one thing, which was another entrance into there. The Dane property, which the city of Keene purchased, at one time, way back when, was about $728,000. It was 35 acres, and 2.5 acres of that went to the wife, who was a widow, to stay there. It was a life estate. The $728,000 part, the city of Keene had never gotten the release on that. So I went to Penn Bank, I got that release for that loan had been completely paid off and there was no longer anything the Keene owed anything. On the life estate, she had moved from there back in, I don't remember the exact date, but she's been gone from there several years. Our agreement with her stated that if she was gone for more than 9 months, it would revert back to the city of Keene. However, as long as she's alive, there needed to be a release of the life estate. So I went to her attorney. He drew up the release of the life estate for her to sign so that it would come over to the city of Keene. Mr. Jonathan Seitz asked me to get in touch with he did and I did, with our attorneys to have them review the agreement that he had drawn up. And then our attorney went on vacation for about a week. So that put me off a week, otherwise we'd had it done in 2 weeks. But anyway, to make a long story short, we did get it signed. It did get filed today. Everything's clear. Keene owes nothing. We can use our industrial park now. We have another entrance into it if we want it, whatever we want to do to it. We can have a big party. But anyway, it is completely done and completely filed. Copies will be coming to you tomorrow. I'll be emailing our attorney their copies of everything too. Because there's the original deed, the deed to us, the release from Pinnacle Bank, and then the release of our life estate, termination and release. So we got it. We own some property.
All right, thank you very much. Good news.
And I would just like to say thank you, because I think my first month here, that was something that immediately came on my to-do list on my whiteboard, along with well 7, I do believe it is. And of course, life gets busy, and I'm just very appreciative that Samantha kind of just took the initiative and did this to get it done. And it does open up the industrial park, because I continue to believe that good things are coming to the city. And so that's one less road bump for when it does. So speed bump, road bump.
Yeah.
What's a road bump?
All right, last yellow card I have is Councilman Smith would like to speak.
Yes. Okay, here's what I got. So I'm going to start by saying, this is about the seating arrangement that we changed 2 nights ago, and I kind of want to explain it. I felt like we rushed into the general meeting, and so I didn't get a chance to rebuttal and at least explain what happened, so I'd like to do so now. So originally, on June 23rd, Mr. Chapman over here asked for an agenda item for a new seating arrangement. And in the response of the mayor, and I'm going to quote what she said, "Just tell me where you want to sit, and I will move you. We can just move the name signs. If you all want to switch around, sit by new people, okay," end quote. So, of course, 2 nights ago, it was very apparent that we had a situation where the mayor was not happy, and that's okay. I'm not mad or in any discord in any way, but I felt that it needed to be explained. So let me get into the reason why this came about. So Mr. Chapman had come over to Chuck, and they were talking over where I used to sit, and I was overhearing the conversation, and they were coming up with a plan of how to make the seating arrangements for unity. I remember Mr. Chapman said, "I want to do this in the spirit of unity." And then on the 23rd, he said, "It shows our city that we want to be together and that we want to talk and work things out," which is really important. So then, Mr. Chapman, you were right. In the spirit of unity, I watched new council members helping others in the meeting we just had. So for instance, I saw Johnny Shaw and Chuck Easley talking about an agenda item privately over there, trying to discern and discuss specific things. They didn't have that opportunity until 2 nights ago. And then the same thing happened over here. I seen Mr. Foster and Mr. Chapman speaking, and so over the same kinds of things. They were trying to discern information. So the spirit of unity just worked instantly, and that's what this is all about. It doesn't matter where we sit. It matters that I just got to witness 4 guys helping each other through a council meeting to try to gather the information to make this city better. So that was really important. Sorry, I've got all this written down here. So there was some uncomfortable things that did happen when I was asked to move and I politely declined. The mayor went out to go speak with the city attorney over that matter, and obviously there was no result of that. And so she came back, and there's now a dent in this wall behind us, unfortunately, because she took that chair and slammed it into that back wall there. So it was a little unfortunate. I'm not saying that we can't repair this relationship in any way. In fact, I want to say we were friends at one point. I mean, heck, I even worked at your house one time.
Yeah, I even gave you a Christmas ornament.
That too. So yes, and I gave you a pickleball hat. We have done this back and forth. It is happening. So I want you to know that there is no hate in me for anybody, not for the mayor, not for anybody. I want to work with our mayor, and I hope she wants to do the same thing with us. But I do want to ask you, Mayor, please stop being the cause and the division so we can get the business of the city underway. We were elected to do so, including you, and I humbly ask you that we try to work with the council you were given by the citizens of this great city and take ownership of it. I'm proud of the business that I've owned and that I've taken care of, and I'm sure she is too. So let's do the same thing that we do for our livelihoods right here in this building. Now I want to speak to the citizens. Something magical happened at the last meeting 2 nights ago. We were in heavy discussion on a topic to which some of our own citizens came to this very podium. They voiced their concerns, and it was enough to pass the motion that was being made. Your voices do matter. I wish more would come. I wish the whole room was full. I enjoy shaking hands and meeting new people. And notice I said people, not voters. Voters or not, if you live in this town, I would love to see you here. I want to know how to better serve you. I was elected by you, so why wouldn't I? Lastly, I would like to thank our city staff, not just the ones that are here, but the ones that aren't here. The people that work overnight when there's problems, the people that are out in the heat all day doing whatever it is they got to do. And I know I can only speak for myself, but I want you to know that you are loved and highly appreciated in your positions here. I consider it a privilege to be able to come through those double doors over there and shake hands with the staff members. I consider it an honor to be a cheerleader for you so you can thrive and do the best for our great citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. And yes, Mr. Smith, I would like to address the comments that you made about the seating arrangement. I did have a conversation with Mr. Chapman. He did ask for it to be an agenda item, and I did tell him that he can discuss that with me, or we could, it didn't need to be an agenda item, but we needed to research it, and we could have a discussion about it. What didn't happen on Tuesday was the discussion. That's the part that I was upset about. You just sat in a chair before Mr. Gua arrived without telling anybody what you were doing and just decided that that was going to be your new chair. You had no conversation with me. You had no conversation with Mr. Gua. As far as I know, you didn't have any conversation with anybody else saying, is it okay if I sit in this chair and change, and this is where I would like to sit? Next time, I would appreciate you coming to me and telling me that first before you just take liberties. That's why I asked you to move kindly, because Mr. Gua didn't know when he showed up that you were going to be in his chair. So I think what's lacking here between us is we can get along, but we've got to communicate better, and we don't. We don't communicate. You've got to learn to talk to me. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on now to agenda item number 4, general items. review, discuss, and consider possible action regarding A, receive a report and discuss projected revenue sources for the general fund and the water sewer fund for fiscal year 2025-2026.
All right, well,
Who's taking over? You?
I guess I'm going to start, right?
Okay.
So, I feel like, and I can't speak because I wasn't here, but again, the world I come from, accounting is, the numbers are what tells the story of your business. And I feel like in the past, from what I can tell and see, it's been more of a checklist item. It's more like, yay, we balanced the budget, and here we go, without really researching what those numbers are telling us. And so, and again, I don't blame anyone, and it could just be this is my philosophy, and this is just you guys getting a glimpse into how I want things to progress. But I also think, again, with the instability of city staff and a revolving door, it's been hard to actually create this transparency and create an actual process that is beneficial so that we do know what we're looking at. What I do know is, for the first time in a long time, I've got my readers again, because I've been looking at 1,940 line items for a budget our size that goes all the way down to how many rolls of toilet paper is a department using, okay? I'm just going to be honest, that's ridiculous, okay? And I can't fix all this in time to redo the budget, but what I can tell you is as we are making those strides, and a year from now, I'm hoping this will be completely different. What I also don't want to do is wait until September and save all these last-minute things until right before we have to approve it, and then have conversations about paper plates, okay? Because at the end of the day, the paper plates are not going to move the needle and show the real issues that we have to face. So what we're going to start with is a little bit of an overview of who are our customers. I think if we better understand our customer base, we have a better idea of what we need to do to create a roadmap to fix the problem. You're going to hear me say, I don't know why, but I get this kind of a pushback that revenue is a bad thing. And I want to be clear, when I'm speaking about revenue, obviously we're going to have revenue come in from rooftops. That's a natural given. I'm not wanting to burden our current population by getting more money from them. And these numbers tonight that we're going to show you is going to show you why it's so important that development become a focal point for the city. And right now, the time is prime to make this happen, okay? So, you want to go to the next slide? Yeah. So, you'll see this first one. In the last year, we've had an 8% uptick in our demographic, or our population, okay? You'll notice that families do make up a large portion of it, but that is dropping. And with people moving in, your demographic that we're looking at is kind of your married couples, which usually insinuates kind of a younger population, okay? Not necessarily, but usually that's a strong indicator. Your single staying about the same, but obviously because the number is increasing, everything's kind of increasing across the board, minus potentially the families. And then the senior population has risen slightly too. And part of that is because we age, and part of that is because people are probably moving into our town. So we'll go to the next slide. This slide is very important, okay? I know, and I've heard council say, and I hear council say, we're going to run on lowering taxes, okay? Which, that's great. I'm 100% there with you. I want to lower taxes in this city, but there has to be a plan. And if we just take revenue away, that means we're going to be taking services away, okay? So what do we do to lower those taxes is we have to generate other areas of revenue. And so what you're looking at right now is 3% of our residents are in the 200,000 and over income level. That is 78% lower than the state average. So your top end is not very much, okay? The median income in our town, and this is kind of a year-over-year comparison. I'm just looking at now, and what you'll see is the median income is coming down, okay, which is not good, all right? So the median income, when it says it's 33% lower than the state average, that's saying that the state average for median income should be $75,821, okay? And then you'll notice the poverty level, you know, people making below 25,000 has risen by a percentage, and 23%, so almost, you know, 1 in 4 of our population is below the poverty level.
That's pretty high.
So, yes, sir.
So I'm just a little confused on, I've got two graphs here that,
One is last year,
okay, so left is last year.
left is last year. This is a year-over-year comparison, just so you can kind of see the movement. I'm sorry, I didn't make that clear. And so, it's, you know, on what I'm kind of basing off of right now is 6,700. That's, again, what the technical last posting was, but, you know, it's a little bit higher than that. But, so we, and I want, and obviously part of this is to educate you, but the reason I want these workshops is because I think it's important for our community to see that we now have a staff here that is very aware of the client base that we serve, okay? And there's major things that are going to have to happen. The reasons the city of Keene has the reputation of having the highest water is because 20 years ago we didn't address problems until it was too late, and all of a sudden we had to jack the price up 80%. And I'm telling you, history will repeat itself if we don't start looking.
We haven't lowered it since then either.
And now we're actually in the middle. But because of that drastic move, that has continued to haunt the reputation of the city. And again, there's so many things that we are going to try to fix, but again, it's going to take time. And so this is just, again, it was kind of in the past, from what we can tell, it's like, oh, let's just increase 3% and call it good. I want this council to understand when people think that we're not doing anything, I promise you, we are seriously trying to create the finance department so that it can actually tell us what the reality is versus, yay, we stayed within budget this year, okay? If we're not using the tools properly, and this is kind of what I talked about when I first came, there's really no point. It's kind of like the strategy is a hope and a prayer. And our job is to give you guys informed decisions and informed information so that when it comes time for election season or whatever, we're not running around making promises that, quite honestly, I don't care who you are, you can't keep. So anyway, so we're trying to change the culture and the way the business of the city is run. And the thing I will tell you I love about my job is I get to take both parts of my experience. On one side is nonprofit, and the other side is for profit. And if you're uncomfortable talking about revenue, then you're not going to get along with me. But without this, finding additional revenue sources, our only option is to wait for rooftops to be built and pray to God we don't have to increase taxes. And if we don't fix this and we don't come up with a plan, you're going to be raising taxes. And it's important when you see that a large portion of our population is below median, every dollar does count. So, all right, so is this a part I get to hand over to you, Mira? And I want to encourage Mira. We have a very passionate finance director that truly cares about this community and the people that live in it. And so at one point she made the comment, well, I hope my passion doesn't get the best of me. And I'm going to tell her right now, I hope the passion does get the best of her. So go ahead, Mira. Turn it over to you, and I'll chime in a couple places.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilman. It is a huge opportunity and privilege. Let me tell you, the moment I start digging deep and diving into these numbers, it's tears, you know. I do know, and I'm not gonna forgive, well, not going to apologize, I'm just gonna say it. The things that we do for the least of these, we have to remember, we do for him. I've watched how the university thrive. 87% of their students require financial aid. That tells you 9 out of 10 students that walk into that door needs financial aid. Yet, Southwestern Adventist University is the one that has the highest cash on hand. You don't know how that works. To me, it's just God's math. Anyways, enough about that. So let's look at this. So we had a closer look at our community and the household size and the economic analysis. And now we need to see what makes up of all our revenue. And this is very important because, as you understand, each revenue is from somewhere and someone, right? So this is what it looks like. 53% of our revenue is made out of property tax. 11% is from sales tax, and 5% is made out of the franchise taxes that we get from Encore, Republic, and those people, Atmos, and so on and so forth. And this is the interesting that I need you to understand. The other miscellaneous income, so, you know, I know like some of you are finance people, you know other miscellaneous income is usually the small one, is what we add on top of the main revenues that are coming in. And I need you to understand that ours is sitting at 31%. So, and I'm saying it for me, so I know I say it over and over, that's how I learn. So sales tax is actually 11% because, 11%, that is after the allocation that we do, the 25 cents to the EDCA and 25 cents to the EDCB. So 11% is just what's left. Basically, that's half of it, right? So other cities, if you're interested, curious like me, property tax makes up of 60% of their revenue. Sales tax makes up of 30% of city's revenue. And other miscellaneous income, your franchise, your da-da-da-da-da, makes 10%. So this is the story that, this is where we are. And I need you to, Chief Warner's here, hello Chief. I need you to actually look at this too, that the sales tax, the 11%, is even less than what the fire and rescue department is bringing in each month. That is, someone needs to, like when I saw that, I'm like, well, you know, we all clapped at our last meeting. I'm like, oh, good for you. But God has a plan. When we cannot raise our sales tax yet, when there's people not here yet, He sent Chief Warner. So, like, we are very blessed. But I just want you to see, like, this is where it is. And it is not the normal city revenue split. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Are these numbers for fiscal year 2024 then?
So this is how it is like right now. This is how it is right now.
Year to date?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
all right, thank you.
And, okay, hold on. Well, actually, that was this will give you a better answer, I guess. Sorry, there's just so many numbers in my head right now, I'm so sorry. Okay, so this was, okay, if you remember, back in June, Mr. Charles actually presented a budget for 25-26, And I just wanted you to see the split between what it was, right? The suggested, well, no, the estimated, projected, Mira, the estimated budget. And this is what it actually is like in actual May 2025. This is the actual numbers that we have. I'm sorry I didn't give you details of it, because to me, this is just brainstorming, and I really need you to see like how the revenue is moving. This is what this whole discussion is about. So if you can see here, 53, we're right on, right? Property tax is still at 53. And then you notice that sales tax is like 7%. And I'm kind of like, okay, why is this? Oh, it's because like, I'm very sure that it will go up to like 11%, because we also have the two, I can't name them, right? I can't name them. The two new businesses that came into Keene. It will go up. And I would like to also just highlight how that blue that came from 5% now is actually 18%. That's a 13% jump. So me going in line by line, and I found that other miscellaneous income, if you see there's a narrative down below, the other miscellaneous income increased by 13% from the budgeted amount is due to the ARPA reimbursement that we pay ourselves during the year. Now, this has been sitting in other miscellaneous income, and that actually makes up of $858,000. We all know that, well, if you don't know, ARPA was completely obligated and fully expended as of April 29th. So in the future, we cannot say that is a budgeted item anymore. I mean, a revenue that we should expect in the future. I did mention about the sales tax. We have, I've done some research, and we have this really cool system. It's called ZAC Tax, and we can reach out to the consultants and ask them, hey, we have these two new unnamed retailers. Can you go do the legwork, do the research? How much do they make in other cities around us? We were talking about that, remember, Mrs. Smith? Like in Joshua, in Cleburne, in Burleson, these people, wherever they are, where they, you know, if they exist in any other city our size, because they can't give me the information, so I asked them to just do the work. And then they came back to me and said, okay, Mira, you can budget this and this. So here we are. Okay. And the franchise, I talked about the franchise, which will be like still 5%, and fire and rescue department, which is contributing, well done, Chief, 11.5, and almost like this, exactly the same as the sales tax. Any question?
Well, and part of what we're doing, and the reason these things are shifting, is because we're looking at actual. We're looking at what the real story is versus what we just tell you it is and then hope.
Yeah. You know, just on that, I see one of them here. I just want to say, I really want to acknowledge what an amazing staff we have at the City Hall. Y'all, they're so amazing. And, you know, when I first came in, March 31st, no words. But the fact that we can give May to you while now it's July, I just want to acknowledge, like, my team. There's one there, Jacqueline Mejias, and there's another one, Beatrice Wisely. I just want to acknowledge them. I want to say thank you to Holly, Carrie, Chief, Miss Samantha, and all my other friends here, and Sandra. We work really hard. For the past 2 weeks or so, I've been doing this budget. I literally would, can you stop what you're doing? Can you help me? Because, you know, they're always willing to stop me just to get this done. I just want to say, thank you, you guys. Just thank you so much. Thank you so much. This is literally like, this is a baking deal. I always say, you give me the flour, you give the baking powder, you do the strawberry, and I do the mixing, and I'll put it in the oven. This is what comes out of it. So it's the City Hall staff's work, not Mira's.
And I will say again, there was a lot of late fees and now we're getting rebates. So, yeah, and and the thing is that, yeah, and I promise you, the rebates are not as big as the late fees, but it's
Yes.
still positive. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Okay, I'm sorry, that's small, but I hope you can see it like on your paper. Okay, so basically what I did was, I took the adopted budget 2024-2025, and I used Mr. Charles' estimated projection, because I think like he's valid. He's been here a while, he knows the business. I'm like, okay, let me just put this in here. And then I did my own calculation, which is the third, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth column. For property tax, I think we all know we're actually still waiting for tax roll, July 25th. So the number there, I am just giving it like an assumption of 2.5 growth. I mean, I can put it up to 3, but I'm like, okay, let's just be conservative and just see like where we at right now until we get better numbers from the county. Wait, the appraisal district. And then sales tax. So the interesting thing about sales tax, we have put 680 for the past 3 years. We've never met it. And the interesting thing, I did a different analysis. Why would you put like the same, you know? Because when I ran it by how many people pay, taxpayers, they didn't move. But this year, we know it'll move, right? It'll move, like it'll move because we have those 2 unnamed, I'm sorry, I'm trying to be funny, 2 retailers. So anyway, what I was saying is that the past 3 years, actually, we have not reached our target, the 680. But I'm very sure 25, 26, God willing, with the 2 major retailers coming into Keene, I think we will be able to go above like what we projected. And I needed to say that because Mr. Charles put in 650 and mine is a little higher. So if there's any questions, why are you doing that, Mira? Because I expected 100,000 more on sales tax.
Yeah.
Franchise tax, well, we heard Robin the other day, I'm not going to change anything. Those are just the big hitters. Encore brings about 124,000, United Co-op at 70, Atmos 22, Republic Services. I actually put in 55, but she had 65 on there. I didn't change it yet though. I just thought, no, I'm just gonna keep it. Okay, and this is the other one that we spoke about earlier, other miscellaneous income. It was budgeted for this year, 24-25, 340, and then for the one that was presented to you in June was 450. You see, mine is 120. So other than the ARPA funds, which made up out of was 858,000, there was also in there 88,000 something that was a refund from Blue Cross Blue Shield, which I don't expect us to get any more refunds, right, Sandra? I mean, Blue Cross Blue Shield's like way, some small, but not 88,000, okay. But so what's usually supposed to be in there, that other miscellaneous income, is only interest. Now, I want to acknowledge Carrie Warwick and Jonathan Seitz. They did a run on Pinnacle Bank. They successfully negotiated a fixed 4% interest for all our money market accounts for the following year. Yeah, I saw Carrie. Yeah, Carrie. Yeah, so right now, it was at 502 in the beginning of October, and then it went all the way down a couple of months ago, it's 3.87, and right now, in the month of June, is 3.8.
And the concern is that as the economy gets better, money markets go down. I mean, I remember getting 0.5% back in my color graphics days, and you were doing good. So the goal was to, and again, Carrie has been very instrumental because she comes from the banking world, so she has a whole other level. But the goal was to get that locked in, because the fear was, as we've been watching it go down, and then we're projecting 3.25. And the problem is other cities have extra money sitting around that they can just, hey, we're just going to put this in a interest, there's 3 options. There's bond, there's money market, and what's the third one, Mira? Bond, money market, and
Mutual fund, you mean?
mutual
fund?
funds,
Uh-huh.
right? But 2 of those require you to want to just put money and not touch it. And the city right now is not at a point. So the city's been very fortunate because of the money markets. It's in as good a shape as it has been, but that's going to go away. So we need to try to increase that cash on hand so that we can go, hey, let's take $500,000 and put it in a bond, but we're not there right now.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. Did that go for all of EDC's accounts as well?
Of course.
That is
All
all
American.
all
Citywide?
accounts. And
Okay.
the other good news is we got that grant money coming in that's going to shoot that way up. So that should go up, but again, we want to stay conservative because I know you've said, hey, I'd love to see a budget where we have $500,000 at the end of the year. The problem is you tell me right now to cut out $500,000 in my current budget, and I'm going to say, okay, how many firefighters do you not want to be, that kind of thing. But if we stay conservative and the city continues to grow, then we can look at that surplus and go, hey, here's $400,000 plus the $100,000 we saved. You see what I'm saying? So.
Okay, thanks. Okay, the next line, oh, no. The next line is administration. So administration is a line where it's just accounting stuff that we actually take money from water sewer and they pay us back for the cost of administration, utilities, and other departments that are overseeing everything, finance, HR. That's kind of like how we budget for administration. So administration cost since 2020 has always been $360,000. I question it. Well, there's been 5 years. Inflation goes up, this and that. And so I'm actually looking into this a little bit more. I don't want to, I think it should be increased. It should be because, and the other thing is no one can tell me how our administration cost is calculated. No one can tell me. I actually asked people here before me, and they say, oh, that's just how it's been. But yeah, we're not doing that anymore. So we have to learn like where this is coming from, and I am, I'm sorry, I am very passionate about these things. We have to know where the money is coming from. The good thing about, I think like what we need to do is understand the cost of doing business, and I don't think we've done a really good job doing that. We kind of like, well, I think it's 360, but I really would like to adopt like some of the ways that other cities are doing it, like franchise rate. Or you pull a line over here, you run this over here, this is what I'm going to like, calculate it. And I think we always say this at the university, if someone gets run by the bus tomorrow, whoever comes in understands where the numbers are coming from. And I think those are the legacies that you can put there, and you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway, so the 2 ways that I'm looking at it right now is looking at our direct fixed cost. That's the cost of the building and utilities and all that good stuff. Another way that I may look at it is through franchise. So it will be a percentage taxed from the water sewer revenue. And I haven't kind of decided, so I'm just gonna put like 450.
Yeah. And here's the thing, like what we're trying to do is lean on the enterprise side of our business, because here's a simple fact. They have 25% of our employees, and yet there's nothing allocated to HR. Mm-hmm. So basically, they're getting HR for free. And Derek and I had this conversation this morning, and he's totally for it. The more we can lean on enterprise resources, the more that frees up money on our end to do more
Yes.
for the city and the taxpayers.
Yes.
Did you ask Mr. Williams how he calculates that, how he comes up with the transfer from water sewer fund to?
Yes, I did.
Because I asked him that once as council. He did have a formula at some time. I don't know if I have it anywhere in my notes, but
Okay.
I asked him several years ago as a council member, and he did have a formula that he used
Okay.
to figure out a percentage to say they do this much percentage working for that department versus this department, and he used that to,
So it is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, that's how they did it. And that's what, I think it had something to do with that, yeah.
So it is personnel allocation cost then?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he
Alright.
would look at, like you say, he would look at like a person that worked for the city here, but they spend how much of their time doing
Yes.
billing for the water sewer fund
Yes.
versus doing billing for here, and he'd say it'd be 60/40.
Time and effort ratio.
And he would
Yes.
split it that way, and then come the cost, and then figure out the reimbursement.
Yeah.
He had a method for doing it. If he remembers, I don't know, but it's been several years since I asked him.
Okay, so I did ask him, and all he said is that, I guess Cheryl Estes, maybe like the lady before him, she had 359,99999. So all he did was just like bump it up.
Okay.
You know? So, and I did ask him, he says, I'm not, so he explained how he doesn't work, and I understand, different finance director does things differently. But I couldn't understand like where it's coming from, because if it is personnel, there is no budget or allocation, cost allocation, Mayor, like in the budget lines. I can't see it anywhere.
Yeah.
I looked at budget from 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and even last year. There's not really anything in like, from just like looking at the personnel, I can't see where the 360 is coming from.
Yeah.
Maybe because there's been a lot of changes, right, and people's salaries different,
Yeah.
one gets higher, you know what I mean?
He calculated the percentage of time a certain staff was working on
Yes,
whatever
yes.
certain
Makes sense.
functions, certain activities. And he came up with a percentage, and it was based off of personnel, the way I understood it. That was the reimbursement, is we're putting salaries back from the water sewer fund back into here.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
That's the
I'll
way
do
I
that.
understood it, and he figured out, how much time they spend, and the staff can maybe tell you guys that, what percentage they use for,
I think that's how it was originally set up, but it
Yeah.
obviously hasn't been looked at because
Yes,
the number hasn't
because it's been
changed.
360.
It
he may have
hasn't-
just kept
it
doing it the
hasn't
same.
changed. And the simple fact of it is that, I don't help a lot, but I even help them.
Yeah.
So why isn't any of mine being allocated? And so, again, this is to demonstrate to council that we want to be able to tell you, we don't want to just apply a 3%. We need to know, again, accounting has to tell the story. And the story cannot be, inflation was 4%, so we're going to increase everything by 4%. And we'll talk a little bit more about the process that we're going through so you guys have a better, hopefully feel better about how things are going to be moving forward.
Okay, police department, it's not changing, the ones that say NA, I'm not changing anything. So right now, if I've combed through their department, and the only income that they have on there is when they have a lot of things that they've confiscated and they resell it at Gov Deals. That's it. So I'm just going to like keep it there for 5,000. And fire and rescue, last year's budget was 720,000, and the projected budget as of March was 672. I am going for 750, and we are being conservative, aren't we?
And we're not going to pray for more fires, but we do have a plan to increase this revenue as well. And this is a big shout out to Chief Warner and Captain Metcalf, right? Who is taking the lead on this. So again, what are other revenue sources that we can generate revenue outside of our people, okay? So they actually approached me with a TIFMAS plan, which is Texas Intrastate Fire Mutual Aid Systems. Thank you. See, this is why I need these. My eyes are so tired from hearing numbers. So in here is a plan that when I asked them, I said, well, why aren't we trying to get this going? This is additional revenue that comes from the state. And they said, well, because there's a $19,000 initial investment. And I said, guys, that is not something to be scared of, especially when, and we will be presenting this to council. I'm not going to go into the details tonight, but one deployment for 1 week not only covers the staff, but pays us back on our investment. Why wouldn't, and then after that, it's all additional revenue. Like, if we had this thing going right now, our guys would be down there in Austin and Central Texas helping,
Yes.
and the state would be paying us a lot of money. So why aren't we getting on board with this like other cities are doing it? So stay tuned. This is coming. This will be a request for us to I'm going to be asking for $19,000, but it will be an additional revenue that will also help us also add personnel and grow the fire department to the level that it needs to be. So
In addition to, think about the amount of training and the amount of expertise they learn when they're out there doing that, you know?
Okay.
And just so you know, again, the police department, that is also not revenue from tickets. That's additional things. You know, we don't budget how many tickets can we write to hit a number, you know, and again, I love the culture that the police department has created because, again, my first week moving to Keene, I got a ticket for 2 miles an hour over, you know, and now knowing the history, I realized they needed my money as a poor student to fund operations, but that revenue is not from tickets, that's from additional resale of items and stuff like that.
Go, okay. So I just want to maybe not talk a lot about the police department. It's NA, the animal control is NA, so that's your adoption fee, that's all those type of things. And development services. So you see it is a jump between what was budgeted in 24-25, 180,000, and I'm budgeting it for 400,000 next year. I think it can be higher, but that is, believe it or not, a conservative number.
But we're going to stick with conservative. There are reports that have been coming out that I've been reading that the housing market is slowing down, partly because, and again, Texas has always been a little bit sheltered because so many people want to live here because it's such a great place to live. So we don't feel it like other states feel it, but there is some federal, you know, national level reports that are coming out that it's slowing, and it's partly because, well, people can't afford them, but partly because they can't find people to build them. And so these housing companies are actually pulling back and building them slower. So I'm with Mira. I think it's going to be more, but this also, I think, really solidifies the point that we need to be bringing things to the city, because if we have to start competing for other people to live here, we need the grocery stores, we need the
right.
we need the things that make people go, man, this is such a cute
That's
little
right.
town. I want to live here. So
So what Don and his team has done for us to come up with that 400,000 is that I've asked for like a complete analysis of the average footage of different subdivisions that are actually in the city. And based on that, I asked for an equal average of the permit that they would, how much it costs per subdivision. And so the numbers that you see on there is made up out of 90 homes that will be needing permit as per different divisions, subdivisions that you will see like in the next slide. But, okay, the only other thing that I guess, well, no, Mira. 11% increase of the community center. John, if you I wanna talk about that too. I think we want to look closely of who are using it. Jacqueline is tasked to do that. Who's using it? How much are they paying? How much is our cost? And we feel that there are other ways that we can actually use the community center for other things and maybe like, you know, get a little bit more revenue.
for those of you that have come to my office, on my desk you'll see a huge stack, which is budget items. Then there's a smaller stack next to it, which obviously in business you have to tackle the big needle moving things first, the things that really, really move the needle. Then you guys start focusing on the small little nitty gritty, which is our master fee schedule. That has to be completely gone back through. I mean, prices haven't been adjusted or anything. And again, that's an area where people, again, outside of our community get to give us money. And again, we're not looking to gouge, we're not looking to go crazy, but you know, when we're breaking even, we're making this much money, and yet, you know, that's something we really need to take a closer look at. So, and the community center, obviously, that's B-board, so they're going to need to be heavily involved in those decisions. But that's an area where, you know, and there's been ideas for, you know, bringing in bringing in training centers, and again, trying to utilize that a little bit more to generate revenue. So.
Wanted to throw something in there. So at our last meeting, you had mentioned that we were going to lose or have lost Orna? Sorry, that's a tough one for me. So my question is I'm seeing the number here for the development, and obviously grows by double, right? Which is awesome, which is perfect. But then we hear about the housing market might be slowing, and of course, we just passed a subdivision earlier this week, and every house was for sale, right? Every house had a stake in it, and they're building them, and it's very possible that they could stay vacant for a long time, which not only hurts the builder, but it hurts the economy of our city, because it's a house that's not being utilized for the right purpose, right? And so there's minimal payments being made on that thing, and so we don't get to capture that until it's actually sold. So what I'm thinking is this is kind of, you have like, kind of like, I think you've already mentioned this, you kind of have to spend a little bit of money to make money.
That's
And so if we create this avenue of social media that this town is the best place to be, and there's videos and there's things that we can do to promote our city, show these new subdivisions here, I think we might be onto something to where, like, I don't want that number to fall off, right? Like, next year, I don't want Mira to come back here and say, well, we're back down to 240, right? And so, but the idea is to keep up on social media and reminding people what a great place we have here. And so and I know that's kind of an expense thing, but it turns into a revenue thing if we do it correctly. So it's just like something to think about, and I'm not trying to get too crazy on it, but I think if we could focus on something like that, we might be onto something good.
And that will be, there's a line item for that. We're also trying to add another layer in the development department, because again, adding layers so that if someone does leave, there's somebody there that actually can step in, and we don't lose momentum. Again, we're trying to build the momentum. So yeah, those are things that we're looking at for on the expense side of things. So.
Okay, I was just smiling at you. Okay, so overall, we are, as it is, with only 2.5% growth property tax. I'm thinking it's gonna be a lot higher. Because you can actually go up and assume, when you can actually go up to 3.5 without voters' approval. But I just wanted to see where it is now, 2.5. That's actually very conservative, right? I'm trying to not raise that. We can just find revenue somewhere else for now. And it's going to be an increase of 2.6% from 2024, 2025, and the increase is $161,870. Any questions? That's my government activities budget revenue projections.
This concludes the nonprofit side of our business.
Well, thank you very much, Mary. You did a great job.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And okay, so the next one. Okay, so these are the little houses, the subdivision. So the 90 houses came from here. 30 from the Canyon, 30 from Sunset Ridge, 20 from Ashton, and 10 from Stonehurst. In the beginning of in the last 2 weeks, no, in the past 2 days, our revenue actually came down so much, because initially we had budgeted between Dawn and we talked about it was going to be 375 houses. We brought it down to 90 because of the conversations that we've had, and then Dawn, I wanted to thank him today too, because he keeps being sent out and go and talk to them, go and talk to them, go and talk to them. So they're saying what they're doing now is that they're going to build 30, watch it, be on sale, people buy it, and then they build more. So I just want you to understand, like, my numbers went from 375 to 90 for this. And that actually impact the development services as well. So that number would have gone like way up, but this is a very conservative way. And if you see, even with the conservative assumptions, we are still going to make way. We're still going to still grow 3%. So God be praised. Right, next. So these are the breakdowns of how many houses, and this is the water, sewer, the enterprise activities. There are 4 main revenue lines: administration, water distribution, sewer department, and a sanitation department. And basically, we are increasing the overall by almost by 5% because of the 90 homes. Basically, that's just what we did for now. Because I think, the first line, that's something that I would like to note as well. In the past, this has been really high. It depends on how much money a grant, okay, so a line that is sitting in the, in Water Sewer Administration is grant funds. Grant funds sits there and they come in, however, they come in as a reimbursement for our expenses, right? So to me, it's not real revenue. You reimburse yourself, so that's where it usually sit. And in the past, this has been 300, 400,000, just because of the grants that we've had, and it comes and it just like leaves again. So I thought that you may need to know that grants money is only there as a revenue because there is an expense, so it just washes out. And the only thing that I'm showing here is the actual revenue that we have some kind of control over. Like the interest income, the 4%, thank you, Carrie, thank you, John, and the scrap metal sale that Public Works actually do. And the projection for 2025, 2026 is just $95,000. The water distribution, sewer department are all divided by how many homes will have water and sewer and how many homes will just have sewer. So for example, going back to this, the ones that have like a little star at the end of it, so that's the Canyon and Stonehurst. These two are the ones with water and sewer. And for Sunset Ridge and Ashton Homes, they will only have sewer. And that's how I calculated the increase. They are with JSUD. But Stonehurst is not, right, because we kind of like bought Crest,
Yeah,
and then now that, yeah.
Stonehurst is RCC.
It's ours, right.
I know at one time we were looking at doing a water, like, rate comparison with adjacent cities. I think we made some progress with that.
So Kit was actually tasked with that, and she was actually working on it. There's, again, and Mira already knows, and so again, the city invested in some pretty cool software in the last couple of years that helps us map out a plan based upon growth and different factors. And again, I'm not tackling this right now, but next year, once we get through budget, we will be dialing in that software and again, develop a roadmap so that we can attack this, because if we don't, this is what I was alluding to a little while ago, if we don't, we're gonna get to a point where we just go, oh, sorry, everybody, we just gotta double your water because we gotta take out a massive loan and pay for it. And so what we're gonna try to do, and one of the things also that I think is important is to break out the bank accounts. But we gotta figure out what goes to what right now, and once we kind of get through that, I think it's important that we have a enterprise bank account and we have a nonprofit so that we can actually know what the reality is. But again, these are all things that are on our list. It's on the whiteboard. You know, right now I'm just trying to get all the things knocked off the whiteboard that I put up there for this year. And then once we get through budget season, it'll get wiped clean because it's about 90% done. And then we'll make the next list for the next things to accomplish. So, but we will be developing a plan, a roadmap to address that problem so we don't keep that reputation.
But in overall, we are increasing our total revenue from last year by almost 5%, and that's $215,000 for next year. Any questions?
So to give you a little bit of insight into, again, what we're doing, and I really want to thank my staff because, again, this is, once again, a new city manager, a new process, new ways to do things, and they've been very patient with me, and I've told them we may be moving slower than even I want to go, but I want to make sure we're setting a process based on best business standards and best business practices and all that good stuff. And so next year, so what we've been doing is, in the past, it was kind of like people filled out a spreadsheet went to the finance director and the city manager kind of went through, and they just crossed things off, and then here's the budget. It's balanced, right? What we're doing this year is we are giving the control, because here's the thing. Who am I to say what Derek needs and doesn't need? Who am I to say what Chief Warner needs and doesn't need, you know? Those are conversations that should be happening all along the budget process. And I've committed to the directors that I am not going to be that guy that just, hey, thanks for sending me what you want, and I'm just going to exit out. If things start needing to come out. So right now, we're just trying to zero in on what is the revenue actually looking like? What is the dollars that we have to work with? Now we're going back and we're having meetings. So they've been given access to the software that we use. So they're actually inputting what it is they need. And then once that's input, we've been meeting and going over that. And then what I've been doing after they leave is Amir created this wonderful little pivot table spreadsheet to where I can review the last 2 years, comparison over comparison, what was the budget, what was the actual, what was the budget, what was the actual, and then what they're asking. So I can ask those questions. Well, if we haven't even used the budget the last 2 years, why are we asking for an increase, right? So that we can justify to really zero in on what is the reality. And here's the thing, I'm going to challenge you and let you know where my thought process is. I don't want directors to freak out because we had 5 police cars in 1 week all break down at different times, okay? Guess what? You can't plan for that. And on the flip side, I don't want my staff going, oh my goodness, I'm going to put $40,000 in there because it might happen, okay? I don't do well with the what-if game. I've never enjoyed it. So what we're doing is I want them to understand that don't be scared to go over budget if it's something that the city needs or we have to do to keep the city moving. But then the next year when we come back and we evaluate those budgets, we can look at them and go, okay, you went 20,000 over this time. Is this a one-time thing or is this because fees went up and everything else? So we need to literally adjust that. So this is the fun part of the budget, okay? We all love to get our paychecks. We just hate to pay the bills. And so now what we're working on right now is the bill side of things and trying to zero in on that. I've got 2 more meetings tomorrow with a couple more departments, and then actually 3. And then I think I'm done with all the different departments. And then, you know, thankfully, I've got a weekend ahead of me where I don't have a daughter or a girlfriend. So I've got lots of time to sit there and stare at a spreadsheet in quiet. But any, huh? Siddle. Yes. Yes, sorry. So anyway, that's just kind of an insight into, I hope you guys can see, this is the path we're wanting to move, okay? Again, I don't want us talking about how many rolls of toilet paper. I want us talking big picture, what do the different departments actually need, and how are we going to get, you know, do what we need to do to get them what they need and provide services to the citizens. So, so the next one won't be as fun, and next week I'm sure I'll be frustrating some of my directors. Here's the thing, in a perfect world, I hope everything just lines up beautifully and I can just tell them all, we get to give you everything you want. But I know that's not the reality, so the tough decisions are coming.
Yeah, don't forget that we also added like one more thing. I think it's necessary, I think we lose sight of things when we look at the toilet paper and the Lysol and what have you not, right? But I think like if we're going to be doing it differently this time, we're going to ask each department, they have to present what is the objective, what is the service that they're trying to give the city staff or the citizen. And that way, we all know and we can sit here and evaluate, okay, your expenses will increase this much because this is what you're trying to attain. And I think that's something like we're trying to communicate. I mean, starting yesterday, right? We figured, oh, okay, there's a reason why you want to do these things. And as the city grows, we cannot allow the service level that we give to our citizens drop. So the way you have to look at that, you have to justify the service level that we give our citizens, especially with, you know, how much we're growing. It cannot be like, you know, it cannot decrease. So anyway, that's the other thing.
And I do want to give another big thank you to the finance department. They have done they have moved mountains the last few months. And again, for me to be able to go to Mira and say, hey, what's the number for this? And actually be able to get it back, like, instantly, that's huge. Because you cannot run a business if you don't have your accounting, like, working, you know? It just, so, and again, I don't, this isn't a knock on anybody. I literally think it's just been kind of the chaos from the constant turnover. You know, so hopefully, you know, like I tell my team, you know, they're all learning, and, you know, one of the directors is like, I put everything in the wrong place, no problem. I'll help you, we're gonna move it over. You know, we're all kind of learning the process this year, but next year, I really expect that the budget process will be even smoother, so.
I have a question for you. I was looking at last year's budget when I was here, of course, in those seats. They were talking about revenue side of things. And one of the questions that came up was, you know, the facilities, the ball fields that get used. And I know this is kind of a type B question, but if I'm understanding what we're trying to do, we're trying to capture some of that money, because if the administration is going to be dealing with that, we get a portion of that bucket to go into general fund. So have we looked at, you know, where we are on the rates that we are charging people to use our facilities and make those adjustments? And I know that probably sounds like pennies, but when it comes to this city, pennies matter, and they turn into dollars and then turn into, you know, putting a pickleball court in, right? So, I mean, I'm just trying to, where can we maximize what we're doing revenue-wise to create those, just that next little step up?
That's where that master fee schedule, you know, thing I just discussed. Again, that is the small stack right next to my big stack as soon as we get done with the big ticket items. And here's the way I kind of look at that and why I'm okay is if we budget 30,000 and then we tackle that master fee schedule, and at the end of the year we come back and it's 50,000 because we actually have things what are supposed to be, that's just a huge win. What I don't want to do is say, hey, we're going to put it at 50,000, you know, all kinds of things happen, and then it doesn't get addressed, and then, you know, we're wondering why. So I'm always going to err on the side of conservative and what I think we can accomplish and in what time frame. So, yeah, the young me would have fell on his face a lot because I'm like you. We're going to do it all. So.
All right. We ready to go ahead and move on? We do?
Any questions from the audience?
You guys have any questions? Okay. Agenda item number 5, we do not have an executive session scheduled for tonight, so we don't need to do number 6. So requests for future agenda items. Council, do you have anything for the next agenda? Okay. It is 7:12 p.m. Meeting is adjourned.